Welcome, everyone. This is the Lovable Business Podcast. I am your host, Mercedes. And I wanted to start off by saying that I hope this is the beginning of an exciting journey. I decided to launch a podcast to serve as sort of like a personal commentary based on the videos I upload on YouTube. I figured that there's a way to make YouTube videos resonate with the audience, which is at the end of the day my goal. But that doesn't necessarily allow me to go into the depth of the topics that I want to talk about, and also doesn't really allow me to bring in guests, which is something that I really want to do in the future. So I decided to to basically create a sub brand under Your Boss Too Hard. And that's why you see my little cheat cards here. Lovable business. I love the little design. It's partly Canva template, partly something that I put together. Um, and the reason why I want to do this is because I really strongly believe that we all are capable of building businesses um, and building businesses that are sustainable for us. And the big issue that I see in the world today is that, of course, information is fantastic, that it's available and it's, it knows no borders, no sort of limitations when it comes to like what device you have access to or really what language you speak, because everything is now available in everything. And a worst case scenario, you can always rely on some of these new like AI dubbing functions. So really, messages are there. I just feel that most coaches or people who have an online presence like to sell their stuff as the only way to do business. And to me, that is a lie. I really believed all of these, all of the marketing of it for quite many years in my life. And it's only the past couple of years where I feel that I finally have the sufficient level of critical thinking to discern what's for me, what isn't for me, and not to mention that the self-development journey that I've been on has helped me find more strength and confidence in realizing what's for me and what isn't. I tend to still fall into this trap of, I don't know, watching YouTube videos on how to make YouTube videos, for example. And I find myself shooting for the like top content, which has either the most views or I feel has the best quality. And then criticizing myself that I'm not there yet, that I am so stupid for this, I'm not cut out for this, I don't have the skills for this. And I put myself on an emotional roller coaster, which is something that I don't even really need, honestly. But it also helps me then to, after I have my initial like worries and talking bad about myself, it also helps me find then a sort of valley of peace where I can become my own best friend and basically just help myself get out from that negative spiral where I talk to myself with way more empathy, where I remind myself that just because this YouTuber has done things this way doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone. If the world worked like that, I think we would live in a very different world. Yay. I hate repeating words, but the point of this podcast is to have technically no edits or just very, very little. So I'm drinking my little herbal tea in the morning. So yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to bring in as an introduction. Um, and I also want to talk about the topic that I was kind of dissecting last week or in my previous YouTube video, which is, again, take my opinions as well with a grain of salt. I am only able to talk from my experience and the lessons that I generate from my experience. So, the topic I was talking about was basically how I believe nobody should start a business right after getting out of corporate or getting out of their job. And I know that this is not a plausible or possible reality for many. I thought it wasn't a possible reality for me either. So I jumped right into building a business. Well, if I'm being honest, even before my contract expired or my contract was over. But basically, the first day I was officially unemployed was the first day I was officially a full-time entrepreneur. And while it helped me have the lessons and learn the lessons that I'm sharing here right now, I also feel that I would have really benefited from a big sister telling me that I don't have to do it and that there are potential dangers in doing it like this. So, yeah, I'm here to be your internet big sister and tell you that if you're not 100% sure, or if you feel like starting a business based on the career you had, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should think twice. Maybe, you should just put things on pause and figure out if this is actually what you want to do. Because what I've learned is that working in corporate or being an employee is like a completely different reality than what we live when we are in our day-to-day lives. You speak a specific language, you dress up a certain way, you have mannerisms that you are using to communicate, to connect with others in work that you would never use with your friends or when you're getting to know people in real life. And I think that's fair, everything has a place, but it is a huge mistake if you think that these are transferable to a small business. And no matter what you do, you're going to start out as a small business unless you quit your job to, do contracting work. That's exactly the same thing you did at your job. Many of my peers have done this who are consultants or software engineers, where basically they just left their job, got a company tax number, and then they continued the job. They were just like sending in bills instead of, being full-time employed with benefits and stuff like that. But I also wonder if that is a sustainable way to do things. I mean, look, corporate is for some people, and I have very, very close, very, very good friends who are enjoying their decades long careers in the corporate environment, and I'm super happy for them. But if you're listening to this podcast, if you are part of my audience, it means that it's probably not for you. So that's why I feel very, confident in giving this advice or even mentioning this publicly. I feel when you're in corporate, you become corporate. At least you have a corporate persona. And that is not to be confused with your work persona. So that doesn't mean that you can only work that way, that you only should work that way, or the rules that you obey while you're in your corporate are the exact same rules that you should obey when you are working whatever job. Of course, there's like a very, very, very basic standard of like etiquette and, business conduct that you should follow. But those are all learnable skills. And I realized that the women I know who started businesses with the naivete that almost a child has, had no prior like professional experience in a sense. They were the ones who actually made it and made a business that they, hold close to their hearts and have difficult periods, of course, but in general feel like it's a lovable business, something that they can sustain forever because they know exactly what made that business the way it is and what they can do to change that. So really the core message of this episode and the video I made uh, is that when you quit your job, you simply don't know who you are and you don't know what's best for you. And nobody knows. And you cannot ask anyone to tell you that because you have to figure this out. So if you start a business right away, just at least, have some expectation management in place. Don't expect that business to be the star, the light of your life. Think of it as attempt number one, which is most likely going to fail, and that's okay. We have such a bad connotation or a bad understanding of what failure is, and that again is coming from the corporate uh, culture where you cannot fail. You can miss targets, of course. There's no such thing as failure. Some bros out there on the internet are also saying like, I don't fail, I fail forward, which I think is utter bullshit. Um, because I think we all fail forward if we consider their definition. So I'm just saying that you should use that experience to learn who you are or learn what works for you. Because when you're in a job for the paycheck, you're sacrificing so much of your personality that you might, end up just being, I don't know, 5% of your true self at work because you don't have to be. Your job there is to be whatever they expect you to be, to do whatever they expect you to do, to get the paycheck, go home, and live your life. When you have your own business, the equation is a little bit different because you are now in the seat of making decisions. And believe me, I have been there. I have started my first business, as I said, right after, a little bit of a correction. I had businesses before, but I started my first like proper grown-up business the day after I quit my corporate job. And the first version was not even, it wasn't even viable. It wasn't feasible. I was not the I didn't have the right skill set to even start that business. I was really good with like the business background and like some very basic technical understanding, but I think you would have had to be a developer to to start that business. Then the second version, which, like this idea brought me together with someone, then we pivoted into something completely else. Um, I even forgot what I wanted to say. The business I started after leaving my corporate job ended up being a business that I genuinely hated. I hated who I became in that business. I hated the team dynamic I allowed or we allowed to develop in that business. And honestly, I felt like if I do something else with my life, if this is not the problem I'm going to be solving, fair enough. Was I in love with the problem we were solving? Yeah, like I mean, I was in heavy like, but that was such a specific problem for corporate employees. Again, you see how things are becoming like full circle. That it was not a problem I was necessarily thinking about in my day to day. It was not a problem that I could genuinely have a conversation with people because I felt like why would I even be talking about my work? Like this is boring, you don't get it, you need context, blah blah blah. The work I'm doing right now is something that I feel even if I would have to end up going back to being an employee because I run out of my funds and I need to do something, I would still find a way to work on this mission. I would still find a way to try to solve this problem because this is a problem that I literally wake up and have it first thing in my mind. And I go to bed and I visualize how I'm able to solve this for others because I was able to figure it out for myself. And I think this is a business worth doing. Now, I really, want to go deep into these sort of mechanics and the how to in future episodes. But the point that I want to make today is that when you leave your job, you don't know what's best for you. And you don't even have to know what's best for you. You have to feel what's best for you. And in order to start trusting yourself enough that you listen to your intuition, that you listen to that inner voice, you need time. And you need effort or resources to focus on that sort of connection with yourself. So I really hope that this is a message that will resonate with many of you. And I don't know if you have any questions. I am available on all of the platforms you can imagine. Um, just shoot me a message. I would love to develop this podcasting experience as building an interactive audience for myself or around the mission that I have, and maybe eventually like a full-blown community. But until then, I am not here to give everyone, my peace of mind. I'm here to put educational, a little bit confrontational, maybe not super conventional content out there. And I need your feedback, your reaction to be able to know, if I'm on the right path. Because if you're not interested, this is just gonna end up being a diary or journaling in a video format, which honestly I have better use for my time than that. So thank you for listening today, and I will see you. You will hear me in the next episode.